On this episode, does youth matter in business, where to spend your money, and how to hold an effective open house?
I spend the majority of my time trying to figure out how to help other people get what they're really after. I do this by speaking at events, writing books, working with coaching students, and sharing a lot of content. All of this creates a ton of questions from people that I can't always get back to, but now I can. This is the place to come where you ask your questions and I'll answer them.
Hey guys, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 3 of #JJoffthecuff. Shout out to my niece Jessica right there for making fun of me over and over again for how I say that. It's more so that I remember what the actual name is though, okay? So episode 3, guys, #JJoffthecuff. We've been getting awesome questions and really just reviews from a lot of you, really enjoying the show. You're having fun with it. Just the off-the-cuff nature of it all, okay? So if you have your questions, send them on Instagram, send them on Twitter, send them on Facebook. I almost said Facebook. I'll start a new company. #JJoffthecuff. Let's get right into it, guys, okay? I've got some questions here which kind of range from all over the place. As you guys know, we can do anything business, personal, sales, entrepreneurial. It really doesn't matter. You ask a question and I'll answer it, okay? Within reason, but you get the point. So, first question here. It's actually a two-part question. Two questions from Chris, and I know I'm going to butcher your name, man, so I apologize. Chris Wolniewicz, something like that. I apologize again, man. It happens to me all the time with the last name James, okay? You asked the question, you said, what are some tips you would give to very young agents, 25 and under, okay? That is a great question, Chris, and I'm going to answer that in two parts, okay? I want you to first understand, don't allow that narrative to hold you back, meaning that you're always thinking that you're young, okay? Where that becomes almost like a liability for you. You want to really make that your strength, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. It's almost like, what was it, Ronald Reagan when he was running for president, and they asked about, age in the election. He said, "Don't allow the youth of my opponent, don't hold it against him," and he turned it around from what they actually meant.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
So here's what I would tell you. Number one, don't allow that to hold you back, but at the same time, understand the realities that, I lived this, in some extent I still live this, but not much anymore, which is kind of sad. But to another extent, I did live this. I was selling real estate when I was, low 20s, teens, I forget what age it was. I think I was low 20s. And I knew that when I went into places that people were thinking that, okay? And so I'm going to tell you this. When I say don't allow it to hold and be realistic about what's happening, what I mean is you're probably going to want to dress a little bit differently at this point in your life, depending on where you live in the country. If you were in Malibu or something, obviously sandals are normal. But if you're in a normal part of the country, you're going to need to dress up a little bit more than you normally would so that that's not held against you. For example, I probably couldn't have done this 10 years ago. I was just walking up here now, and Anthony in my office says to me, he goes, "You're going to do it like that?" I said, "You darn right I'm going to do it like this. I don't care. I've kind of earned the right to be able to do that. It doesn't change what I'm saying to you, okay? But I've been around for a little bit longer now, whereas yourself, you're going to want to keep that in mind and not allow that to be held against you. So make sure you dress appropriately, you talk appropriately, make sure you mirror a mirror image of the people that you're talking to, how you're talking, voice reflection, the whole deal. But here's the other thing I want to tell you. I get this question all the time, young agents, old agents, the whole thing. I really don't think it matters that much, right? Everybody has this narrative that younger agents are greater at technology, older agents aren't going to get it as much, and all this kind of stuff. You need to eliminate that completely out of your mindset and just understand that you do have an advantage by the fact that you're young because you haven't been taught improperly, and this new world we live in is the only world you know. So when you look at how our industry has changed so much from a technological standpoint, 90+% of people searching online, how we get those people through Facebook targeted ads, promoted tweets, what Instagram's doing now, and all that kind of stuff, the follow-up that it takes for internet leads to actually convert them, that's all normal to you, right? And so I would tell you, whether you're a young agent or you're an old agent, you need to be acting today like it is today. Right? I wrote an article recently where I basically said that too many of you are running your business like you're coming home and watching 90210 as a primetime show. You know, like it's 1992 or whatever. It's not. It's 2015. And so the game has changed. Most of the experienced agents that have been around for a while who say, well, I don't do that stuff and this is the way I do it and whatever it may be, if you were to follow their model today, the way that they've done it the last 20 years, you could never grow a business today doing it that way. It wouldn't work. It doesn't work in today's world. So don't allow that to get held against you. But at the same time, you can leverage the fact that you're young, right? So when you're stepping in front of a listing appointment or a buyer or whoever it may be, and you're talking about your unique selling proposition beyond the fact that you've been around, that you work hard and all these kinds of things, you are able to actually talk about today's technology and what you're going to do to actually be a difference, to have their listings show up in front of people who they wouldn't have shown up before. When you're working with buyers, how you're going to have access to their house. Like, you can use that to your advantage. So I guess what I'm saying to you is, although you're asking the question, understand that in my mind, there's no difference between an agent operating at the age of 23 and an agent operating at the age of 63. It's really just what you're supposed to do now, regardless of age. Now, I think you have an advantage because this world is more new to you and you don't have that narrative that I don't understand technology or whatever it may be. So don't allow that to hinder you. Also understand that there are people who view you differently because you're young. Don't dress in a way that allows them to disqualify you until you reach a certain point where kind of like your stats speak for themselves. Okay, and that's kind of what I had to do over time too. You also asked me the question and you said, what are some of your favorite tools for keeping track of daily activity and source and origin of leads? So source and origin of leads is a different question than daily activity. Source and origin of leads, we use Wise Agent. You can go to wiseagent.com/Jared James. I think they're like $25 a month or something like that. Super cool CRM, contact relationship manager that works with a lot of different companies. Will create systems for you and follow up and all that kind of stuff. Daily activity is a completely different thing. I think that you're in our virtual coaching program, and if you are, you have access to our daily activity reports and our weekly activity reports. I think those are absolutely must follows. But I'm going to tell you that I also think that in this question is kind of like the underlying issue, because everybody's trying to manage time and manage themselves and everything else better. And the bottom line is a piece of paper can help, but it's not going to do that. You have to get yourself in line. I'm a very scheduled person. I like to know, like Rachel will tell you, like when there's like something we move, I'm like, where is it? What time is it? I like to know when things are. I like to properly prepare myself. But we've also got to guard ourselves from the million distractions that we have. I mean, today's world is more entertaining than it's ever been, and you know, it's just like you watch a YouTube video and then it immediately goes into another one that's just like it. You're captivated. You're like, oh, that one's really cool too. Oh, that one's really cool. But they're 7 minutes a piece, and before you know it, a half hour's gone. So good for them. That's great marketing, great how they've run their business, but bad for us, right? So I believe that we've got to learn to turn things off. We've got to learn to really understand what our schedule is, and understand also that your schedule is not just when you're meeting with somebody, right? Rachel, what was I saying to you today? I was like, we came up with this great idea for something, and I said, see, now that's why I have to just stop and think. Like, I have times that I schedule where there's nobody there, it's just thinking time. That's some of my most productive work, right? So it's about scheduling, time blocking. They sound so old school, but it's just true. Here's what I think, right? I think you need to give yourself something to do, or you'll find something to do. Okay, that's the best way I can put it. You better give yourself something to do, or you're going to find something to do. And generally, the thing that you find to do is not going to be that important. It's not going to be that best use of time. Give yourself something to do, even if it doesn't involve another person, okay? Next up, Beth Bishop, one of our one-on-one students, also a marketing client. She said, okay, REW, Real Estate Webmasters. A lot of people ask what website company we recommend. I'm big on Real Estate Webmasters. Any of these places, guys, you want to check them out, realestatewebmasters.com/Jared James. You'll avoid the setup fee, which I think is a couple $1,000s. She said, Real Estate Webmasters site, JJ Facebook marketing, listings to leads. So yeah, you're a marketing client of ours, creating leads and stuff. I built it. Now, where do I spend my money to make them come, and how much? So I'm always a little uncomfortable with telling people how much to spend, because it's such a subjective question, right? In the sense that everybody's different. What I'm more concerned on is ROI, return on investment. And so if you can make double the amount of money for spending this amount of money, then you should do it all day long. But what that amount of money is you're going to spend is really a personal question, right? Someone else might spend $5,000 while another person spends $500. Another person might spend, so that's going to be That's going to differ to me depending on who you are and what you want to do. Now, what I would do, Beth, if you now have that site, you've got your JJ Facebook marketing set up, you've got your listings to leads, I would be all about with that site now, I would use that site now to grow my database, because your JJ Facebook marketing, your listings leads are all lead generators. I would focus heavily on building my database, which means I'd have something on my site that was some kind of a great giveaway. It would be some kind of a great piece of information, some kind of great content, some kind of great video. Pretty much a similar thing that we do here, where all day, every day, you're using Facebook ads, you're using promoted tweets, you're using whatever you have to use to drive people to that portion of your site where when they put in your email, when they put in there whatever it is, they're gonna get that valuable piece of information they were looking for. But all day, every day, people are being added to your database, because I think our database is way underappreciated right now. Meaning, look, I love Facebook marketing. We have a marketing side to our company that creates leads and does that for people. I love Google pay-per-click. I love all of these things, right? I love Facebook. I used to love MySpace. These things come and go. Email has not. So I say to these guys all the time, like, we'll look at it weekly and be like, oh, we added this many people to our database. Oh, this is, because I know those people are money. I know that long term they're money, okay? So I'd be using my money to really focus on, and now that you have that real estate webmaster site, setting up calls to action and really growing your database. That's just me. All right, Sean Michael Mitchell, what business sales books do you recommend? Well, Sean, you're talking to somebody who's written 2. So right off the bat, Enjoy Success Today, Get Out of Your Way, love those books. But here's the deal, like, God, there are so many good books out there. I read recently, what's it called, Launch, or something like that, which was really good. It was all about the internet and how you launch products on the internet now and the way things have changed. Everybody loved the 4-hour work week just because there's so many tools and stuff in there. But I'm going to tell you, quite honestly, I don't read a lot of business books. I don't read a lot of self-help books. I write them. I don't read them. There's nothing new under the sun, right? The thing that I get the most value out of is actually biographies, believe it or not, because they're so inspiring in the sense that they don't generally write biographies about losers, right? They're not like, oh, this guy's a real loser. Like, let's write a book about him. What a loser. He did nothing with his life. That's not generally who they're written about. They're generally like the overcoming story of somebody who went from nothing, was born into a family, and just kind of grew in what they did. And what I do is I look for common characteristics, commonalities for what they did, and I try to apply those to my life, because to me that's the ultimate self-help. That's the ultimate business help. One tactic, one specific product someone creates, just because I learned that they created that doesn't mean if I create that I'm going to have success. But if I can learn the underlying thing that they did that promoted that and whatever, I can apply that to anything, right? Like any product I want, anything that applies to me. And so that's really what I'm more into. The other thing I want to tell you is I'm all for reading. I read a lot myself. You should read, but don't read if you're not going to apply. I have a real belief from a guy who does public speaking for a living and teaches people a lot of things, that I never step in front of an audience or even doing these. And that's why I can do these all the time, because there's always more stuff to talk about. I never do it with the idea that I'm going to teach you everything I know, because I have this real belief that if you teach somebody everything you know, they'll learn nothing. Okay? You got to teach them something they can apply, then learn. Something they can apply, then learn. So those are the types of books I'd pick up. Whatever's going to relate to you, whether it's biographies or it is self-help books, it's up to you. But that's my personal thing. Okay? David Kyle, my buddy. David Kyle, man, how you doing? He said, what are some good ways to knock an open house out of the park? How do I get buyers from open house and traffic? Okay, so again, don't want to sound like a broken record. I just wrote an article on this morning for Realtor Mag. That'll probably come out next week or the week after, and we just covered this on our last coaching broadcast too. Open houses for a long time weren't effective, and they weren't effective because they were run off of Sunday paper, that kind of stuff. And when the Sunday papers went down, so did open house traffic. It's just natural, right? I mean, using the example I used a second ago, if the majority of your web traffic was being generated off of MySpace, well, if you're still using MySpace, not going to work. It doesn't mean your website doesn't work anymore. It means that the thing you were using to get there isn't working. So I think the greatest opportunity right now to drive traffic to open houses are, again, Facebook ads, where you can target specifically to an area. You can target that neighborhood, and you can have some kind of a call to action or value to get those people to your to your open house. I was even talking earlier with everybody, and I was saying, shoot, what if you put some kind of registration for your open house? And you said for the first 20 people that register, we're going to give away $5 gift cards to Starbucks. And now they register to get the $5 gift card. And when they show up to the open house, you give them that. And the people that didn't show up, you're contacting those people and going, hey, I missed you at the open house, but I have a gift card for you. Can I bring it to you or can we meet? Now you're having face-to-face conversation with potential buyers. By the way, don't throw out nosy neighbors, right? All that come to my open house are nosy neighbors. Great. Let the nosy neighbors in. You know why? The neighbors are nosy because they want to know the value. They want to know if that's worth that. Well, then maybe mine's worth that. They're going to sell. Maybe not now, but in the future. Who's better to pick somebody in the neighborhood than the neighbor? They have people who are looking. So you want to make sure that you're not ignoring these people. But nosy neighbors create another thing that I really love too, which is traffic, right? Even if just nosy neighbors were coming through, when that real buyer comes through and they see a bunch of people walking through, that creates traffic, which is going to create supply and demand. Which if I was going to make an offer on a property and I went through an open house and I hung out for 45 minutes and nobody else walked through, my offer is going to be different that night than if I went through the open house and 6 other people were walking through. You see how this works? So make sure you're not just leveraging from a Facebook perspective, but also from the perspective of, you know, create flyers with the price and walk that neighborhood the week before. It's old school, but it works. Walk that neighborhood, invite them over, tell them there's going to be food, tell them to bring their friends. Create traffic. When you create traffic, it creates supply and demand, which creates scarcity. Scarcity drives up prices, makes people do things they wouldn't usually do, right? If I'm walking up to a pair of shoes and there's one pair left and there's 2 of us walking towards it, it's like I was in Orlando last week for Disney. And so we want to get our kids into the Jedi training. You got to get there super early, and then you got to run across the park. Why are we running across the park? Because there's plenty of spots open? No. We're running like fools across the park because, gosh darn it, my kids are going to be in the Jedi training. You see what I'm saying? Scarcity. It works in every single thing you do, okay? As far as follow-up, I love a tool like Open Home Pro, which is a place where they actually put their information and it can auto follow up with them over the long term. A lot of agents will say, well, I have issues getting people to sign up at an open house. If you're getting people who have issues signing up at open house, just say this to them. Say the homeowner requires that I get the full information for anybody walking through their home when they're not here. Wouldn't you require the same thing? I dare someone when they hear that to go, no, I would not require that. Any stranger can walk through my home whenever they want and go through my stuff. They're going to be like, that makes sense. Okay, now you've got their information. Okay, so that's the answer for that. Obviously, simple things like a lot of signs, as many signs as you can possibly get. I can't remember the last time somebody, it was a bad thing when someone said, I see you on signs all the time. So there's little things like that, but that's the really quick answer for a show like this. Okay, last question here, John, you want to know. And this is where questions are personal. It says, Jared, how do you stay in shape? Is it natural? Do you work at it? I'm seriously curious. Question mark. Okay. Thank God you didn't ask that last week when I was in Disney eating away. Not natural. I have a rule, and this is a real rule that I have. I don't know if I've ever shared it before, but this is a rule that I think a lot of people should have, and I literally have this rule, and it's that I have to sweat every single day. I have to do something that makes me sweat every day, okay? So whether that's working out, whether that's running, whatever it may be, I have to sweat every single day, okay? Is it natural? Heck no. My God, there's people in much better shape than I am, but I could be in much worse shape as well. Is that the correct word? Yeah, I could be in much worse shape as well. I gained weight a couple years ago because metabolism slows down and the whole deal. And now you've got to start watching what you eat, and you got to make sure you exercise. And look, I love those people who can just naturally, look like they belong at Atlantis or whatever. I don't even know if that's a proper example, but whoever these people are. I'm not one of them. Many of you aren't one of them. It's the difficult stuff, though, right? It's like I said last week. What are you willing to do your future self will thank you for, right? Well, my future self would like to be able to dominate my kids when they're in high school, which means that I have got to stay in shape. Okay, so that's the easy answer to your question right there. All right, guys. So that concludes our show. I want you guys. What's my question of the day? Here's what I want you guys to answer me. And I want you to write me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm at Jared James Today. You can write on Facebook to me, again, facebook.com/Jared James Today. I want you to to tell me, you know what I want you to tell me? This is like completely nothing about business, whatever it is. What is your favorite workout? Like, what do you do that's like your favorite workout that is such an awesome workout? I want to know what it is, okay? That's my question to you. What is your favorite workout? Send them to me, guys. Guys, keep your questions coming. Make sure you use the hashtag JJoffthecuff. I'm getting it right? Off the cuff? I screw this up so many times, guys. You have no idea. Hashtag JJoffthecuff. Send your questions in, guys. As I say all the time, you ask the questions and I'll answer them. Have a great day.